Hey everybody.
Hello there.
I'm Mike.
I'm Jenny.
And this is End the Nominees. We're a podcast where we watch every movie ever nominated for Best Picture at the Academy Awards.
Yes.
And this is our first Best Picture winner.
That's true.
This is the finish line of 2017.
Yep. Only how many more years to go? 89 years to go. That's right.
Yeah.
That's
right now.
Well, I guess technically 88, right? Well,
No, there I don't know.
Yes, I don't know.
I don't know.
It's very technical.
Yeah.
But...
Well, no, yeah, we have 89 now because there was just an Oscars that we haven't covered.
Right.
And it'll take us 10 years to do the other 89, and in those 10 years there'll be 10 more.
Right. And then we're just going to do all of that. We're going to power straight through all those at the end, right?
Yeah, probably. Something like that.
Sure.
I don't know.
Sounds fine.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Anyway, I'm declaring here and now we're calling it a day at the 100th Academy Awards. Anything after that, will movies even exist?
No.
Yeah.
We that's when we're all going to get the like the little discs like in Strange Days. Mm-hmm. We're just going to jack in and so movies will cease to exist.
Yeah. Well, I thought more they would just all become television shows.
Oh, well, I guess that's more realistic. All right.
Everything's a 12-hour movie. What's a movie? Do they still make those?
Yeah.
Anyway, this week's episode is The Shape of Water.
Yes.
And I'm afraid this might be a contentious episode.
Yeah, when we were talking about this the other day and you were like, yeah, we're going to watch Shape of Water again and we're going to fight about it. And I was like, no, we're not. I don't feel that strongly about The Shape of Water. And then we watched it again and literally my first note is back on my shit again. So apparently I was lying to myself for, I guess it's been like 2 years now, technically, since we saw it the first time.
Like a little over a year.
A little over a year. Feels like 2 years. Feels like the olden times.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I like this movie a lot.
Mm.
So we'll have to have words.
Yeah, I mean, I would hope so. That's what this podcast is about.
That is
it's
literally
about us
the
having
point.
words.
Yeah.
I don't think I care for this movie.
I know. You didn't when we watched it.
Yeah.
Yeah. But that's okay.
But anyway, yeah, The Shape of Water, this is Guillermo del Toro's 10th feature, I believe. I just counted them before this, so I would know. Because he's made a lot of movies, and but he's never really... He's always, like, on the cusp of being, like, a huge thing, He's made a couple movies that are big successes, like Pacific Rim, but even like most of his big studio things like Blade 2 and Hellboy, they're kind of on the lower tier of blockbuster status,
right. Yeah.
And his his Mexican films, they've garnered a lot of acclaim, but it always feels like he's working under very strict conditions, low budgets and things like that. And it feels like only in recent years, I think after Pacific Rim, he's kind of had the cachet to be able to make more personal, bigger budget movies in English.
Right.
Which I don't know if that's a thing that he particularly wants to do, or if that's what he has to do to get the budgets or whatever. But he's made, after Pacific Rim, he made Crimson Peak, which I loved.
Yeah, which rules.
Yeah, I don't know. This is all to say that I was excited for a new Guillermo del Toro movie, and then I hear it's The Shape of Water about a woman who falls in love with basically the creature from the Black Lagoon.
Right, yeah.
And I was like, okay, I don't know. I was cautious going into it.
I was like, yep, sure. Like, this is the thing. And I cannot obviously speak for all women. That is not my job.
Mm-hmm.
I can speak for, the corner of Tumblr that I crawl out of, to live in the world. And everybody was like, it was very meme. It was like, yes, girl, get it. Fuck that fish. Do it. But so we were all hype.
Yeah.
We were hyped for The Shape of Water. And then it turns out that it was it was actually, you know, a nice movie. It was a nice movie about
a fish fucker.
About a fish fucker, yeah.
Yeah.
So, yeah. The Fishman does not have a name.
No.
I think that we should come up with a name for him for the sake of brevity.
Gilly.
Gilly. His name's Gilly now.
Just popped in there.
Yep.
Yeah, I think, unfortunately, watching this movie, there's just the one central thing that I just can't get. My mind will not. I cannot wrap my head around this core concept of the movie.
That is
where a woman falls in love with a feral animal.
That is genuinely the part of the movie I have the least problems with.
I mean, I have problems with all the rest of the parts of the movie as well.
I wish I was kidding. That is the part of the movie I have the least problem with.
You know, this movie starts with this, it's a wonderful looking sequence where it's basically tracking through Eliza's like apartment building. It's going through the hallway and over to her couch where she's sleeping, but everything's underwater and everything's sort of floating around, and it looks quite nice. And then there's this Richard Jenkins voiceover, which basically sets up the movie you're about to watch as this fairy tale.
Yes.
And already, like, as soon as that happened, I was like, I don't know, I can't.
That was exactly what I wrote down in my notebook. Here I am back on my shit again.
Yeah.
Because of course I'm immediately on board. Like we're in this like abandoned looking apartment and shit's floating around, and he's giving narration, you know, what would I say if I told you about her? And the music is playing.
Yeah.
The score is so good.
Yeah.
That's it's Desplat, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, and it's so good. It's French sounding, even though there's nothing French about
Yeah,
this
I kept
movie.
thinking it was by the guy who did the score to Amelie, and it wasn't.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's very Amelie sounding.
It is very Amelie sounding. That's, you know, also a movie about questionable romance.
It is, but it's between two human beings, and I have less of a problem with that.
Yeah. I guess. I don't know.
It's just, you know, it's like, yeah, it's, I don't know. Clearly many people can just accept the fairy tale aspect of it, and I'm just like, what are these people doing?
Do you
hanging
have
out
this
with
reaction to Beauty and the Beast?
Yeah. Why is she hanging out with this crazy? Well, also,
there she technically she has to live.
Yeah,
there.
she has to live there, and he's actually
Although
a dude.
There's literally no reason.
Yeah.
There's no. Yeah, but she doesn't know he's a dude. Mm-hmm. I mean, I guess she does.
I don't know.
I
mean, I have many problems with that story as well. I don't get fairy tales. I don't know. I've never have.
That's very deeply disappointing to me, and I'm sorry. So what you're saying is you were never going to like this movie.
I guess not. I mean, I didn't know it was a fairy tale.
Okay.
I don't know.
Is fairy tale set in like Fallout universe?
Yeah. I love the way this movie looks so much. Like if this movie had no plot, and if it was just the scenery, I would have given it 5 stars. This movie looks fantastic. The production design of this movie is beautiful.
It is. It's true.
And then there's just the story. You know, there's I have other problems with the story too.
Okay.
Let's get off of the fish fucking.
All right.
For a minute here.
Because it's not like he's literally an animal. He communicates with her. They like.
You know who else communicates? Koko the gorilla.
Yes.
Koko is absolutely sexually attracted to certain humans. I've read this.
Oh yeah?
This is true.
That's wild.
She was into Robin Williams when Robin Williams showed up and hung out with Koko.
Nice.
But Koko can't get it. Koko's a gorilla. It's not cool. He eats a cat.
He does eat a cat. He doesn't understand what cats are.
Exactly. How can he consent to having sex with this woman if he doesn't understand what cats are?
He's never met a cat.
Yeah. He's never met a human woman.
He's from the Amazon. He's met human women before.
Did he have sex with those women too?
Maybe.
That's weird. I don't like it. I don't like this at
all. They worshipped him as a god. Michael Shannon told us so.
That's
a
horrible misuse of power.
They offered him cats. We don't know.
They don't have cats in the Amazon.
No, they don't. But
you just said it yourself. He's never seen a cat.
I know. Yeah. He can heal people.
Yeah.
And understands music.
He can heal people, like, at the very end of the movie, too.
No, he does it in the middle of the movie.
That's true. Yeah. He cures his baldness. Or
yeah, and the scratch on his arm that he gives him when he runs out. You remember he when Gilly eats the cat.
Yeah.
Richard Jenkins is understandably quite upset about this. Yeah. And forgives him because he doesn't know better. He says I think he calls him a wild animal.
Yeah. He does call him a wild animal. I think he really forgives him because Rick Jenks has like 4 other cats.
Well, that's also true.
I think he just picks up stray cats.
I think that might be true. And I don't know how he's feeding these cats. Like he doesn't even feed himself.
He doesn't even have a job.
He tries to have a job.
It doesn't work. Spending all his money on pie.
He is. Let's talk about Ricky Jenks for a second.
Yes. Richard Jenkins, an actor whom I love. Everybody loves Richard Jenkins.
Yes.
He's fantastic.
National treasure.
Up, yeah. I don't think he was in that one. Maybe he was. I don't remember. He might have been a national treasure.
Who knows? Anybody could be.
Yeah.
I've never seen any of the movies in that series, so you could literally tell me anybody was in them, and I would be like, sure.
You know who's in those movies?
Who's in them?
Nicolas Cage.
What? I don't believe you.
I've only seen the first one. Maybe he's not in the second one. But Richard Jenkins is great. He's one of those guys. You know, he's the guy who I feel like he came up in the character actor ranks around the same time as guys like Paul Giamatti and like Philip Seymour Hoffman. But those guys
broke through.
Yeah, those guys started getting lead roles, and I don't know if Richard Jenkins ever did. I think the closest he ever came was like The Visitor. But anyway, Richard Jenkins is in tons of great movies in these smaller parts. I feel like this is like the biggest part he's had in a while. Mm-hmm. I don't know. I could be wrong. I don't go out to see every Richard Jenkins movie. I don't know. I don't know if I really had a point.
Is your point that he's great?
He's great.
Okay. So yeah. But his part in this movie, he's sort of the way that Giles, his character, describes himself. He says at one point that he doesn't know if he was born too early or too late. Mm-hmm. He's always sitting at home watching these like 30s movies with the musical numbers, and he and Eliza like do a little tap together and stuff like that. They're always watching all the musical numbers and stuff. And he is an advertising artist.
Yeah. Commercial artist.
Right. For a company where he seems to have had a romantic breakup with his direct superior in the one scene that they have together.
You know, believe it or not, I actually never picked up on that. That might be the only thing in the movie I never picked up on, because this movie is not subtle.
It's not terribly subtle.
No, but I never got that impression.
But it's
but
not
that
really
doesn't mean
trying
that
to be.
No, I know.
So he's a commercial artist. He's working on this piece for Jell-O, like through the whole movie, and keeps getting notes back, and it turns out that they want photography, and he's basically, being shut out of this line of work. But like also, this dude is like stringing him along, because like if he had said in the first place, listen, you're not going to get this job, maybe he could have gone and done something else. And anyway, justice for Giles. He deserves better. But Giles is a coward. And he, one of the ways that they show this in the movie, they're always going to this pie restaurant. Mm-hmm. This chain pie restaurant where he goes to buy pie and flirt with the guy behind the counter.
Yeah.
Who it turns out has no idea that's what they're doing, because because he's just being a person who works in retail, which I get. And it also turns out he's a shitty person.
Well, yes, of course.
Yep. I have been on both sides of this scenario. I certainly have had customers who are clearly coming in just to flirt with a girl. But I also, through my 20s, that was the extent of my game. Would be like, I would go to a store
and be like, oh, so you sell books? That's so funny. I like to read books.
Yeah, right.
That's,
exactly.
Wow.
Yep. I had a crush on a boy who worked at a GameStop. So I would go in and be like, oh, hey, so what games are up for pre-order? Oh, the new Zelda, huh? I want that Zelda. Have you heard anything good about it? I'm like, what are you doing? Come on. Like, ridiculous. So I've definitely pulled that move.
Yeah.
It worked out for me, only slightly better than it works out for Giles.
Yeah. I don't think I've been on either end of this unless I'm just completely oblivious, which is entirely possible.
Okay.
I've lived most of my entire life in a state of obliviity. I think that's the word.
That sounds right.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know this for sure, but I imagine that girls would come in and flirt with you, especially in a bookstore.
I mean, I appreciate the thought, but I don't know about that.
Yeah, so Giles is spending his money that he doesn't have on this pie that is inedible.
Yeah, it's apparently awful pie. He just has a fridge full of it.
Of neon green key lime pie.
Which that's only one of many neon green things in this movie.
Yep. I do love this movie. That honestly, that's what's really funny was I wrote notes while we were watching this movie. 4 pages of notes. Most of which is about 5 ideas. Was it
just you scrawling the word green over and over? Just
yeah, I was just
in a serial killer notebook.
Yeah, I was just keeping track of when they used different colors. That happens at least 10 times in these notes. But yeah, there are really about 3 main colors in this movie, and they are green, yellow, and red.
And my problem with that is
like a stoplight.
Yeah, that's true. But I feel like the colors don't represent anything. Like, I feel like they're very...
I had an idea about that.
Okay.
I don't think that they all do. I think some of the uses of the colors are just, for atmosphere or because that's part of the palette of the movie. But... so I'm not going to be able to tell you what green means, even though it does seem to be generally a good color in the movie, except when it's in that neon shade of the Jell-O and the pie and stuff. Yellow is always used for normalcy.
Okay.
It's like... Not at least when I noticed it. I feel like there might be once or twice that it's not, but it's contrast with Eliza's world is very green, she has it's like greens and browns and stuff, except when she starts to liberate herself and she gets her red shoes finally that she's been eyeing in the window. She buys her red shoes and she wears her red coat at the end when they're running away to the docks, even though she doesn't know that she's going with them. But the rest of the time, she's got her green uniform that she wears all the time. She does have a red headband that she wears. But yeah. So, there's a lot of green for Eliza. But,
this is the story of a green boy living in a green world.
He is a green boy.
He is a green boy.
He lives in a mostly blue world, I guess. In a blue little house with a blue little window. That looks out onto a lab where a girl is mopping things. But yeah, so, Strickland, who is Michael Shannon's character, his house is aggressively yellow. His wife is wearing yellow. His son is wearing yellow checker. They have their weird boning and the yellow.
Yeah.
Okay. We're going to get into the weird sex stuff in this movie. But there's also scenes, Richard Jenkins' apartment is more yellow tinged than Eliza's apartment is. There's the scene where Dr. Hofstadter before you find out that he's a spy and his name is Dimitri and stuff like that. When he goes to meet with his, Russian contacts and stuff like that, and they go in the front of that club that is extremely yellow. This like Russian hall where everybody's dancing and having a good time. Although then they go into the back room, they go into the kitchen, and everything is white. Which there isn't a lot of white in the movie.
Yeah, that's true. I feel like that doesn't seem very normal to me. It's Russian gangster club.
Well, I feel like it's maybe supposed to be, because I don't think he is a character that fits into his world either, is the thing.
Okay.
None of these characters, and that's the big, flashing neon light theme of the movie.
A whole bunch of kooky misfits.
Yeah, a whole bunch of kooky misfits banding together to help these two kids run off together.
Yeah.
Into the sea.
I feel like this would have been a better, 90s sitcom. A whole bunch of kooky misfits working in a science lab or being test subjects in a science lab.
I feel like you almost described Better Off Ted just now. But that's the thing. I feel like it's just supposed to be like this is the normalcy of these people who are living in the country, and then they immediately, this is literally, I would say less than a minute, that shot, the bright yellow club. And then they just cut through into the back room and everything is white and different because that's not the world that he's in. It's not, it's what's supposed to be.
Okay.
So, and also, it's like, even if you're using it by that, it's an artificial normalcy as well. Like, certainly that's the case for Strickland and his family.
Yeah.
And
it's his whole existence is aggressively fake.
Right.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And they go out of their way to sell him that huge green car.
Yeah.
He's not sure about the green, and then the guy says, "Oh, it's teal."
Mm-hmm.
And I thought, that teal, it's unsettling.
Yeah, we've all previously established that teal is unsettling.
Yep. It's very unsettling.
Mm-hmm. I feel like this movie, it spends way too much time on Michael Shannon's character when he's not talking to Eliza or Zelda or people. They have a scene of him going home and having weird sex with his wife, and then there's a scene of him buying a car. There's a scene of him as boss. Like, he's a character, but he's a cartoon character.
Well, it's because really the through line of all of the scenes that he is in that she is not in, and also the scenes that she is in, is he is toxic masculinity, the character.
Mm-hmm.
That is his purpose. And I guess the idea of this movie is, you know what? Don't be like this guy.
Yeah. I don't know.
That's the moral. The moral is don't be like that guy.
This movie has a lot of... I feel like this movie tries hard to give every character a character and scenes of their own to do stuff in. You see Zelda at home. Only the one time, but you only see Strickland at home the one time.
I guess that's true.
Pretty much, maybe.
Pretty much.
Maybe
I think he's there twice.
You see Michael Stuhlbarg once or twice, and you see Richard Jenkins go to his job or whatever and go eat a pie. And so everybody gets a couple scenes by themselves, and that's in theory a good thing, but I feel like it doesn't. I feel like it makes the movie feel unfocused to me.
Okay.
Because I feel like, and then I don't spend enough time with Eliza and Gilly because their relationship doesn't feel like they fall in love in this montage in the middle of this movie. Not even in the middle of this movie. It's towards the beginning of this movie.
Yeah.
And then the movie spends a whole bunch of time with these other characters, and I'm like, no, go back to the other thing. Explain that to me. That's the part I'm unclear on. I understand who Richard Jenkins is. I don't need to see a whole scene of him being rejected by the pie guy.
I feel like if he hadn't been rejected by the pie guy, he wouldn't have helped Eliza free Gilly.
Yes, but like that also feels like it's cheap to me. Like
it is a little bit, but I feel like he might be that kind of guy. You know, he wants to live in the fantasy world that he is making up, and he needs the harsh reminder that, you know what, the world isn't like this. You're an outcast. These people are outcast. Everybody is an outcast. All you have is each other, so stick together. That's the actual moral of the movie. Is all you have is each other, so stick together. Which I want to get to. Which is why I have problems with the end of the movie, even though it's the perfect end to the movie. But that's why I have issues with it. Because
they go off on their own and they leave everybody behind.
To live in the sea. Yeah. To be fair, you know, he has to live there. He is a fish man. But and now she has to live there because she got shot real hard several times. So I don't know.
And because
now she has gills.
Yeah, he gave her gills.
Yep.
She always had the scars on her neck.
Right. Because Eliza is mute because she was abused in some way as an infant or a very young child, and all she has to show for it is these scars on her neck. Yeah. Which then become gills when he heals her from her gunshots at the end.
As you do.
I don't think. I mean, one could argue that, you know, like, maybe you should have asked her if it was okay to give her gills. But she was dead at the time. Yeah. So I feel like, you know, given the alternative, she's probably fine with it. But also, I think that much of the movie before then has led you to believe that maybe she wants to live in the sea.
Yeah. I guess.
She likes the water a whole lot. She was found by a river.
She masturbates in the tub.
She sure does. Yeah. I mean, who doesn't?
I don't know. Yeah.
Yeah. One of my favorite things about this movie is that it's right in, like, basically the opening credits, is that she jerks off in the tub to an egg timer, which is the most realistic shit that I can imagine. Okay. Like, you know, you're just getting this shit done, and then go, like, and it's part of your routine, and you go on with your day.
Yeah.
Yep. I mean, I love that. And people try to make it weird because she is a lady. But
I mean, I don't think it's weird because she's a lady. I feel like I would be uncomfortable with any movie that started with the main character masturbating. Man or woman, I'm not particular.
I guess that's... Is it just because it's at the beginning of the movie?
Well, it sets a tone.
I see.
And it's... I don't know.
I like it. I like that that's part of her daily routine.
It's fair.
Yep. I feel like, you know what, that there are a number of movies, not to go down to Pound Town. Again, we're getting on that bus back to Pound Town. But, you know, a number of these Best Picture movies are about, you know, not about women's sexuality, but, like, are, you know, like, This Is, and Lady Bird is, and Phantom Thread is, and, like, good for them. Like, you know, because it's not the point of any of these movies, and that's what I like, and that's why I like that inclusion, is because it's not the point of the movie, it's just part of the movie.
That's fair.
Yeah.
I quite liked the part of Lady Bird where she's jerking off in the tub. Didn't bother me in that movie.
Okay. It doesn't bother me in that movie, but then I'm just like, I already saw this in Slums of Beverly Hills.
Not all of us have seen Slums of Beverly Hills. I'm sure Lady Bird has. No, she probably hasn't. She doesn't have a TV in her room.
Yeah, but my point was, I made my point, which was that I like that this is an aspect of these movies, but not the point of any of them.
Yeah.
But I feel like that's why I like that, is because it makes it clear that it's not a major part.
And I guess what I don't like about it, and but it's a thing that I don't like about a lot of this movie, is how excessively blunt it is
That's
about
okay.
everything.
Yeah.
You know, like in Lady Bird, there's a scene where she's taken special tub time, and you really just like see like a shot of her face and like a shot of
And
her
like
feet
her
on
toes
the like
go
yeah
up, yeah,
toes
up
go
on,
like
onto the
and
faucet.
that's all you need.
Yeah.
You get it. And then in this movie, the camera doesn't quite linger, but you know, it makes a point of like showing her getting all naked, getting in the tub,
Right.
which she always overfills, and it bothers me every single time.
She loves water.
But there's always water spilling out over the tub. She's making a mess all over the place. She's
Loves it. She
causing,
wants to just puddle around in it.
You know what? Why don't you just go marry a fish man?
I don't know if they marry.
No,
I don't think they have marriage in this fish religion.
I think he's the only one. So
We don't know that.
I believe Guillermo del Toro has stated, and you know, death of the author and all that. You can imagine what you will, but he has gone on the record saying he's the only one. There's only one fish god man.
Okay.
And there's only one human woman with gills.
Well, yeah, that's true.
But yeah, this movie is very blunt from the
from the get-go.
From the special tub time scene to Giles getting rejected by the pie guy he's kicking out a black couple from their restaurant.
Yep.
You know.
Then to the weird Strickland sex scene where he
how convenient. The villain of this movie doesn't like it when women talk, and the lead of this movie doesn't.
I mean,
talk.
obviously, but that's the thing is like I don't think it ever occurs to him until after he has met Eliza and stuff like that. He's just like oh my god, there are women who can't speak. Like, this does it for me. And so, yeah.
Oh, man, I just watched a whole episode of Millennium about that.
What, really?
Yeah, kind
of. So he's not a good dude, and he wants to not be talked back to by women. So let's talk about the lab for a minute.
Yeah.
Which we know almost nothing about.
No.
Although I noticed it was called Occam, and I thought that was
like the razor.
Funny. Like the razor.
Yeah. Although that's another weird thing where I feel like it should be a clever reference, but I don't think it really means anything.
No.
Like Occam's razor is the idea that the simplest explanation is the most likely. Mm-hmm. What does that have to do with this strange lab where they're prodding fishmen?
The simplest explanation is, you know what? He is a god after all.
I guess that's not the simplest explanation. I don't know.
I mean, I guess it is.
Usually, Occam's razor is used like
in a much more scientific way.
Yeah, like the simplest explanation is that they all made this up. This is a collective hallucination.
Yep. Caused by algae.
Yeah.
Or something.
Swamp gas.
Swamp
usually.
Gas. Yeah.
But let's talk about this lab.
Yeah, I guess that's the problem, is that we don't know too much about it.
Yeah, I would have loved to simultaneously learn more and learn less about it. Like, I feel like you don't know anything about what they do in this lab, but it's pretty clear that the whole thing's run by the federal government.
Yeah.
And so you can kind of just assume they're doing like weapon things all the time, you know, and that's a little less interesting to me than this weird underground laboratory where they just investigate all sorts of weird scientific phenomena.
Yeah, they certainly, Zelda and Eliza, this is certainly the first time they've seen a fish man, but it doesn't seem totally weird to them.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, I would have liked to
just
see.
Like, ooh, what sorts of things they get up to in this lab?
Yeah,
basically.
Like I would have loved to see like how I don't know, an Indiana Jones movie or a Bond movie, they'll start with like a little mini adventure so you understand that he gets up to weird stuff.
Right.
I would have loved to see just the tail end of them, like them cleaning up some other lab.
Yeah.
To just set up what sort of weird things they get up to in this lab.
And they do have a whole, like, this is what their day is like, where they're just cleaning things. And I'm pretty sure that at one point they're cleaning what looks like a bomb. Like,
I don't remember that, but
they're in like a big
it.
hangar. It's either an aircraft, like an entire aircraft, or a missile or something, or a rocket.
Mm-hmm.
But they're just in a big hangar, and like Eliza is like scraping gum off the floor while Zelda is like dusting like a fin of like this huge rocket or something.
I don't remember that, but I believe it.
Yeah.
That sounds right.
Yeah, and I liked that. I liked that little thing.
I feel this movie, it feels like it's it introduces these wonderful concepts, this wonderful world, and it proceeds to tell what to me is the least interesting story in this world. I understand that's not for everybody, but like, I don't know.
I do wonder if that is part of the reason why it spends so much time with all the other characters, though. You know, because maybe Guillermo del Toro was like, well, what else do you need to know about this relationship? They fall in love.
I guess.
Yeah. She brings him eggs. And then they dance.
Mm-hmm.
Well, she dances. He's in a tank.
She imagines them dancing together.
That's my favorite part.
I think by that point the movie has just lost me, because that's the sort of thing that I would love, and I love these like singular dream sequences. Often, you know, I love the ones where they're just dancing in a dream or something, and so I should love that, and as an homage to old Hollywood.
Yep.
And it just does nothing for me.
That they watch all the time. She sings the song in the dream. And it's great because it goes into the dream sequence with her trying to sing at the table, but she can't because she's mute. And it comes out, but it comes out to her still singing the end of the song, but like not quite singing. She's just like a little breathy, squeaky voice.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, I like that.
That's so good. Sally Hawkins is really good in this movie.
She is really good. She's
a little sass bucket, and I love her.
I remember there's that one scene. It's the one that they played, you know, at the Oscars. It's the Oscar scene where, you know, she's signing she makes Richard Jackson say what she signs.
Right. To try to get him to hear her.
Yeah. And like that, and you know, that scene in isolation is very emotional to me. I get it. I just like, I wish, like, that's the thing that's frustrating about this movie to me. It's like, I can't just be like, yeah, not for me, not my thing, because like so many different things about this movie push my buttons, and I'm like, yeah, give me more of this, give me more of that, and it just loses me at every other moment of the movie. And I don't think it's the movie's fault all the time. Sometimes it is. Sometimes I think the movie is a little much, but yeah, there's moments like that scene which is beautiful, even if I don't agree with this relationship that they have, you know. And so I wish that the rest of the movie could grab me the way that scene does, or the way that the production design does. You know,
this is a thing, you know, not to get back on whether Gilly is a man or an animal. But the thought occurred to me while I was watching the movie this time, you know, is that even before they fall in love, he and Eliza become friends. You know, she brings him an egg and teaches him to sign, and you know, and Dr. Hofstadter sees all this, so he knows that this is an intelligent being, this and that, because he sees him communicating this, blah, 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 blah.
Yeah.
And so I thought, has anyone else tried to sign at him ever? Clearly, no.
Yeah. Presumably no one in that lab knows sign language except Zelda.
Except Zelda, yeah.
because it was a different time.
Right.
I feel like that's one of the movie's sort of blunt themes, possibly, is that, everyone overlooks what this disabled woman can bring to society at large. Probably they just overlook her, and so they overlook her talents and her skill.
There's
if they valued her more, they might be able to communicate with this creature.
That's true. Yeah. There's the part where after they have freed Gilly from the lab. And they're, going through the whole security thing where they're like, oh, it must be a team of Russian specialists and stuff like that. And I mean,
because they just don't believe
that
and
you can just
those specific people could do this.
They're just clocking in the background.
Yeah.
But they have to, but then there's the scene right after that, which is the one, which I thought you were going to mention before, where they have to interview everybody. And so he interviews, Zelda and Eliza. And is, fucking weird at them again.
And then Eliza, all of a sudden, she's just like, fuck you, dude.
Yeah, right, as they're leaving.
But the whole scene, she's just so smug as shit.
Yeah, she is. She's just such a smug little shit the whole scene, and I love it.
But it comes out of nowhere.
No, well,
I mean...
Well, they've already had they've already had the interaction where... he knocks the cup off the desk to make her clean it up and then says that he's going to make her squeak.
Yeah.
Yeah. So she's already like, fuck this guy in particular.
We're all like, fuck this guy in particular.
But, well, of course we are, because we've seen all the weird shit he gets up to the rest of the time. But
that did, I already was like, fuck this guy. Before he had weird sex with his wife, I was already like, fuck this guy.
Oh, well, yeah.
I was like, fuck this guy as soon as he washed his hands before he peed. No one does that. Literally no one on the face of the planet does that.
He implies that other people do, and I was like, why?
Yeah, it was so weird. Like, his monologue, like, I get that it's weird and creepy, but he's like, a man either washes his hands before he touches his dingus or afterwards, not
and
both.
It says a lot about a person which one it is, or something like that.
I think it's... in
my head he says that. Maybe he doesn't.
I feel like he says, like, it says a lot about a man if he does both.
Oh, yeah,
or something
right.
like that. And, like,
you're right.
Of course no one would do both.
Yeah, why would
because
you do both?
No one does one of those things at all. One of those things is insane.
Yeah.
If any of you at home wash your hands before you pee, you can tweet at us.
Yeah, right.
At
Please
Nominees
tell us
Pod.
why.
Yeah. Tell us if this is a thing.
I genuinely want to know.
Is this a 1960s thing? I don't know. Were there public hygiene films that told you to wash your hands before you pee? If so, send them to us. I love to watch those.
I agree with that as well. Please do.
I think what this movie was missing was a public hygiene film somewhere in the middle of it.
It does have the propaganda posters, though.
Yeah.
In the locker room, I noticed them because of how blunt they are.
Yeah.
They're so blunt. One of them is about not wasting water, and the other one is loose lips sink ships.
Oh, of course, yeah.
Yeah. Amazing.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. A+ theming. Well done. So that's what. So I want to get to. Even though there are other things I want to talk about, I do want to talk about the end of the movie and how she escapes to the sea. I don't remember genuinely how this happened because he's not smart, but Strickland has figured out, that they're all behind it, and he figures out first. That's right. That's Dr. Hofstadter. Statler is actually Dmitri, the Russian spy.
And just by following him all day, which there's a real big flaw in this spy plan. If you can just tail someone for an entire day and then they're a spy.
I mean, that's true. It's a flawed system. Although I think that at that point, Dmitri already knows the jig is up. Like
at that point he got shot by the Russians too.
Right, he got shot by the Russians. Which as I'm saying that out loud is now I understand why my last note in all my notes is Dimitri deserves better, to be honest. he was just trying to do his job and protect the fishman as well.
It's true.
For science.
You know, really the real enemies of this movie are nations in general.
I guess that's kind of true.
It's all these people just wanting to either live their lives in pursuit of love or science, and then these countries being like, no, fight each other.
Yeah, that's true.
No, use this fishman as a weapon.
Although I don't know how that is all true for the main plot. I don't know how that ties into, the whole outsider theme, the gay struggle, the black struggle.
Yeah, well,
is unrelated to nations specifically.
I mean, the nation as a whole was opposed to black people at that time.
Yeah, I guess that's true. Oh, yeah, that's right. There's even the scene where, in Giles's apartment, that's one of the things that he's being a little coward about is there's a civil rights protest on the news at one point, and he says to Eliza, he's like, no, turn that off. I don't want to see this.
Yeah.
And that was what was happening. And instead they put on like a musical from the 30s.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, because that's the world he wants to live in, which isn't real.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's not being a good ally.
No, it's true. But he learns.
Mm-hmm.
He learns
to be an ally to the fish people and to the deaf people.
Mute people. She's not deaf.
I apologize.
That's okay.
That was, that was just a big old error on my part.
That's all right. That's quite all right. And he tries to ally for the black people at the diner.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, hey,
he's like, don't talk to them like that. And he's like, and then the other guy's like, yeah, you go home too. And he's like, yeah, okay.
Yep.
You got me there.
Yep.
So he does take the time to wipe the
pie off of his tongue.
Yeah, which it's a common enough thing you see. It just bothers me every time someone puts paper on their tongue.
Yeah, it's unpleasant.
Yeah. Ugh,
yeah. Although I
have like a sense memory there. Like I see that, I remember a time I accidentally licked the wrong paper, and it makes my entire body clench up.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
I feel like it just implies how bad this pie is.
I would rather paper.
I would rather put this whole napkin in my mouth.
Mm-hmm.
So fuck you, pie man, and fuck the pie you rode in on.
Yeah.
I assume he rides a pie to work.
The idea of a chain pie restaurant is deeply odd.
Twin Peaks: The Return.
That's true, but it's 50 years later.
It's true.
A chain.
I would go to a chain pie restaurant. Yeah. I just want pie all the time.
I know, and they appear to have other food. Maybe that food is better.
It's possible. They do appear to be a functioning diner. They just
we went to a chain pie restaurant.
That's
Perkins.
True. Perkins.
Yeah.
Pretty good pie.
I didn't get a pie.
I got pie.
So I got
chocolate cream pie. It was pretty good.
I always gorged myself on the meal, and I never saved room for pie. It's very sad.
That's a shame. You should always save room for pie.
I should.
Yeah. But back to the shape of water.
Yeah.
So let's see.
You can see how you can tell how much I want to talk about this movie by how often I digress by just talking about pies and Michael Shannon's penis.
You know what? We never see it.
It's true. We should see it.
We see literally all of Sally Hawkins.
Right.
I think we should get to see Michael Shannon's penis. We don't even get to see the fishman dick.
No.
Although she describes it, and that's amazing.
Yeah, it certainly sounds like he has an opening like a vagina, and then a penis comes out of it.
Yep. Which, you know what?
Yeah,
I was
sure,
like,
why not?
Yeah, sounds right.
Yeah, that's fair.
Sounds like an amphibian sort of thing.
I guess.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah. I was like, I buy this.
I feel like this movie is trying, very hard to, tip the scales the other way in terms of human sexuality on film. You're always seeing things from the male point of view. Here's a movie from the female point of view, but you still see Sally Hawkins' entire nude body, and you don't see any dicks in this movie.
That's true.
A bit one-sided there.
I know. It's a shame.
Yeah.
Still out, not in this movie, but still out there, I believe, fighting the good fight for everyone is Ewan McGregor, single-handedly crusading for dicks on film.
And for a long time, Judd Apatow as well.
Oh yeah,
yeah. But it's easier. It's easier when you make comedies. You can stick a flaccid penis in there, and it's funny.
That's the thing. Well, yeah, I guess that's fair. Like, this is the problem with movies. Is that actually there's so many problems with movies, but this is one of the problems with movies.
Sure.
Is that you get a naked lady in a movie and it is almost always just inherently sexual. You get a naked dude on a movie,
it's almost always comical.
When it's not, it's weirdly not pleasing. It's more threatening.
Yeah.
Dicks are threatening.
Yeah, and it's sometimes and it's weird. Sometimes the joke is, it's a man's body. No one wants to see that. But then other times the joke is, this man is so hot, women can't handle it. And even that is still demeaning to women somehow. Yeah. Even when they objectify men, it still demeans women.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, movies are fun.
Yeah.
It's fun to be a woman watching movies.
Yeah, I believe it.
Actually, that's a thing. After we watched this movie again, and I went into work, and I was like, yeah, we watched Shape of Water again, and I realized I'm tired of men telling me not to like this movie.
Yeah, I would never tell you not to like this movie.
No. But even after we watched it, you were like, I didn't like this movie. This is all the reasons I didn't like this movie. And I was like, okay, all of these reasons make sense. I don't like this movie either. But of course I like this movie.
Like it, yeah. Love this movie. Do whatever you want.
Of course I do.
Yeah.
It's exactly my kind of garbage. Yeah. So.
Look, I'm clearly in the minority here.
I don't think that you are. I think that there is it did win Best Picture.
Yeah.
But I think that it is one of those movies that won Best Picture by being the least objectionable to the most amount of people.
Which it is so deeply weird. It says so much about the year that we are living in, right? The times that we are living in, that the least objectionable movie is about the union of a human woman and an abomination of nature.
Hey. He's created in God's image, okay? He's not in a...
He's Michael Shannon lays it right.
Disagrees.
Yeah.
Michael Shannon disagrees.
Yeah.
And then uses the extra opportunity to be racist about it.
Well, of course.
Yeah, because of course he does.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, so here's the thing.
Mm-hmm.
The theater. We didn't talk about the theater at
all. It's... I kept thinking about it while we were talking about it and thinking about how to bring it up, but I realized that I don't have any thoughts about it because it's a completely superfluous thing in this movie.
It's true. There is, Eliza and Giles live above a movie theater.
Yeah.
And it almost never comes up.
Mm-hmm.
Their landlord is the owner of the theater. He chases her down for rent a couple times.
And when she floods her entire bathroom,
it leaks into the
movie theater. That's about it.
When the fish man eats the cat and runs away,
she finds him in the theater.
And is just standing there. She finds him just standing there watching a movie.
Yeah.
Because there's never anybody in this theater.
Yeah.
Is the thing. So you can just do that. He's just standing there watching this Bible film.
Mm-hmm. Apparently, this is a nice theater in Toronto.
Okay.
And The Shape of Water actually had its premiere at this movie theater.
That's nice. Yeah. I like that. But yeah, and I remember you saying after we watched it that you felt like that just the location of the movie theater is wasted in this movie.
A little bit. I mean, it feels like it should have some sort of thematic resonance or something. At the very least, they should be showing some movie that seems relevant.
Should be showing The Creature from the Black Lagoon.
Wow, that would be a bit on the nose. So I'm surprised that they didn't do it. But no, they're just showing some like biblical epic,
Yeah.
the Fall of Rome or something like that.
Something like that.
And yeah,
Although
it just
that
seems...
might be significant in and of itself if we look it up. I'm sure I wouldn't be surprised if it turns out it's some Bible epic that's directly related to the plot of this movie in some way.
Yeah, I don't know.
Like...
But yeah, like, I don't know. It just feels like there's... It's such... Like, it would be one thing if they just sort of established that, oh, they live above a movie theater, and then it never really comes up again. And then it would be another thing if they keep going to the movies over and over, but it's in this, like, weird middle ground where they show it enough times that it should mean something, but it doesn't. I
agree. I do think that Gilly just standing there watching the movie is sort of evocative in and of itself. It's sort of like... I don't know, especially because there's so much of the movie that is about, like, living your life like you're in the movies, basically. And
there's also a thing where this is a time where, like, Giles has a TV in his apartment. There's a notable shot, like, I think when she's going to work for the first time, you see, like, the bus stop is in front of, one of those, like, TV stores where they just have, like, a wall of TVs in the window, and it seems like it seems like it's bumping up against some sort of theme where, like, this is a time of transition from movies to television. Maybe it's something to do with, like, this new technology that they're working on in the lab, but it never quite gets there. It never quite makes a point. It is also somewhat interesting that Giles has this TV, but he always uses it to watch old movies.
Yeah.
You know.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's saying something. I just don't know what.
Yeah, I feel like, there's almost something there, but not quite.
Yeah. My next question was, why doesn't Eliza have a bed?
Yeah, that's weird. Well, I guess, they've got these one-room apartments, and you can, choose to fill that space however you wish, and she chooses not to fill it with a bed.
Yeah, she just sleeps on a couch.
Yeah. I guess she spends most of her time at Giles' apartment anyway. It's kind of weird, point. Like, they establish these apartments right next to each other, and then they just go ahead and spend all of their time at Giles' apartment.
It's true. It is true. Mm-hmm. She and Gilly spend time in her apartment.
Yeah, even once they bring the fish man there, they keep him in the tub. You see him in her bathroom, but then they still just, like, go over there to talk. Yeah,
that's true. I don't know. It's weird. Mm-hmm. Let's see.
There's the scene at the end, like right before the musical number, where you see them sitting at the kitchen table eating. You see she finally see she has a kitchen table.
Yes, eating eggs.
Yeah, of course.
He signs egg at her.
Yes.
Yep. See, because they bonded.
See, can he actually talk, or can he just say egg a lot? Does he even know what it means, or does he just know?
It means egg. He knows it's egg.
Or does he just know when he does that with his fingers that he gets a treat?
Well, he already got the treat. She already gave him the egg and was like, egg.
Well, that's how she teaches him that symbol means I get a treat.
Oh no, I don't like this. Mm-hmm. You're mean.
like when a dog just puts his hand on your knee and to give him a little bite of your food.
Egg. It's gonna be my response to everything from now on.
Fair enough.
That's what I learned.
It's his response to everything is egg. Give me more eggs.
I do think that, and I don't remember this for sure, and I think that this is part of the problem. I think that if you saw them having a conversation, that a lot of the issues would be alleviated. Mm. You know what I mean? Like,
but that's part of the problem is, no one, even a fish god, can learn a language in 2 weeks.
Well, yes, but that's why I assumed that this was more time.
This movie was nominated for 13 Oscars.
Hell yes.
Yeah, that is a lot. I'm pretty sure the only ones it wasn't nominated for were Best Live Action Short, that sort of thing. was nominated. I'm going to go from the bottom up. That's easier. It was nominated for Best Editing, Best Achievement in Sound Mixing, Sound Editing, Costume Design, Cinematography. It was nominated for all of them. Original Screenplay, Supporting Actress, Octavia Spencer, Supporting Actor, Richard Jenkins, Leading Actress, Sally Hawkins, and Production Design, which it won, Original Score, which it won, Best Director, Guillermo del Toro, and Best Picture.
He gave a nice speech.
He did. I don't remember exactly what it was, but I liked it.
I don't remember it exactly. I actually don't remember if it was his Best Director speech or if it was the Best Picture speech, but I remember him just talking about following your dreams, and it was nice, and I was very drunk, and I cried in a bar.
Mm-hmm. It was very nice. I remember being happy that he won, as I think he's a very talented man, even if I didn't like this movie that much. I also just liked that it wrapped up the little thing where... the three amigos, I believe that's what they call themselves. Iñárritu and Cuarón had each won Best Director Oscars, and he hadn't, and he finally did.
That's nice.
But now, this year, now that Cuarón won for Roma, now he and Iñárritu have each won twice, and Del Toro has only won once.
Disappointing. He's got to get another one.
And this has all happened within the last 6 or 7 years or something like that.
Which is a little bit weird.
Yeah, they've won 2, 4, 5. They've won 5 times in the last 6 years.
I mean, and also from everything I've heard, because we haven't seen it, and we won't get to it for years. The Revenant is not good.
Yeah, and a lot of people don't like Birdman either.
Is also supposed to be not great.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't think I've ever seen an Iñárritu film.
I don't know if I have.
I've seen a bunch of Cuarón movies. I like
him. I think
some
he's
of them.
A talented guy. Yeah, even his movies that I don't like that much, I think that he is a talented guy. I think they are well constructed movies, like visually and stylistically and thematically.
Guy knows what he's doing, and so does Del Toro. The award was richly deserved. If not for this film in particular, then as a whole in his career.
You know, this does remind me of a thing I did want to say.
Okay.
After this movie, I feel like this movie had... this is probably why I had a note that just said backlash. I feel like this movie got backlash for winning Best Picture.
I mean, every movie does.
Right. But, I feel like because I feel like before the Oscars, people were like, oh, this movie's pretty good. And then when it was Best Picture, they were like, well, it's not as good as this. It's not as good as this. And,
Well,
and
of course.
Right. But, and I feel like there was a part of this backlash that was like, this movie only won because it's so pandering to the idea of, all of these misfit outcasts and blah, blah, blah. And I find that idea extremely cynical and incorrect because, if you ever just listen to Guillermo del Toro speak, he's, the most sincere that a human being can be.
Well, yes.
And so, he would never be making a movie to ride the zeitgeist, for people standing against Trump or whatever.
Yeah, absolutely not.
This is just genuinely how he would feel.
Yeah, I think this is a very sincere movie about outcasts. But I do think there is somewhat of a point there because this is... I feel like it's a long tradition. Very often the winner is the movie with the most obvious and the most palatable social commentary.
Yeah.
Okay. The social commentary in 3 Billboards is very obvious, but it's not very palatable.
And it also doesn't hang together in any coherent sort of way.
Yeah. But, the message of The Shape of Water, how we all want to belong and, whatever... It's not that far removed from the presumed message of Green Book, which is can't we all just get along?
Yeah, I assume that's the message. Yeah.
And I feel like it does belong in a sort of tradition there, and I do think that was a factor. I feel like it was the least difficult of the movies nominated for Best Picture, aside from maybe like The Post and Darkest Hour.
Well, neither of which is a difficult movie.
Yeah,
just
well, exactly.
Not good. But we'll get to that.
I do think it is the most palatable, which is extremely weird because it's a fish fucking movie. But it's a love story, and Hollywood loves a good love story. But yeah, this movie won Best Picture, and I guess we can, make our thoughts more clear in our 2017 yearly wrap-up, which will be coming out next week.
Yep.
So next week, I thought we'd take a look back at all the good times we've had.
Since August.
Yeah.
We've just been living in 2017.
Yeah.
I was talking about this earlier today, and I was like, I feel like I've just spent the past 6 months of my life just living in 2017's movies.
So we didn't even get around to watching a ton of other movies from this year.
No, it's true.
We watched a couple extra ones.
We did. We tried.
So I figured we'd talk about the year as a whole, talk about all of these movies all together.
Right.
We'd maybe rank them a little bit.
Yep.
Say what we thought deserved to win what. I thought we'd go over a lot of the other categories as far as we are familiar with the nominees.
Yes.
Talk about these Oscars as a whole.
That we still, certainly didn't see as many 2017 movies, presumably, as the Academy did, although one never knows.
Yeah, I don't know. You don't have to see all of the movies to vote for what movies you want.
That's true, but it seems unfair.
Yeah. So I thought we'd do that. And then we'll talk about our next mini-series.
Do you want to announce it now? We didn't yet, although we have told people individually in real life.
Yeah, and they're the only people that listen to this podcast. No, that's not true. We have other listeners now.
We have international listeners.
We do. We don't want to call them out by name because I don't know who they are.
No, but thank you, strangers.
Yeah, thank you, strangers in other countries and various states that I don't know anybody.
Yeah, right, exactly. Thank you, American strangers as well.
Yeah. If you enjoy listening to this show, please rate it on iTunes or wherever you download your podcasts. Leave us a review. That would be really nice. It would be very helpful. It would get more people to find the show. You can follow us on Twitter @NomineesPod. You can send us an email at nomineespod@gmail.com. And if you write us a nice letter, we will read it on the air because we don't have anything better to do.
I promise if anybody follows the Instagram @NomineesPod, I will actually remember to post something on the Instagram.
Yeah, you said that last week.
No, well, I said I would do it, and then I didn't do it.
I know.
But also, nobody follows it, so I didn't really feel any pressure.
Fair enough. Presumably if you're listening to this, you found our podcast somewhere, so I don't need to tell you all of the places you can find it, but we are on Spotify. And I think now we are on YouTube.
We are this time, okay.
Yeah. We're on YouTube. You can find us there if for some reason that's easier for listening to podcasts.
Yes, it could be. Like maybe if you have YouTube Music? I don't know. I don't really know.
I don't understand YouTube at all.
I don't know.
And of course we're on Podbean.
Yes.
Check us out. Subscribe to us on Podbean at nomineeswere.podbean.com.
Yeah, I think that's all the things.
Yeah, that's all the things.
Yep.
Until we, I don't know, as what other lands are there for us to conquer out there?
We still have to get the Patreon up.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
It just feels.
It feels silly.
It feels conceited. Like who the hell would pay to listen to us talk about more things.
Yeah, but we will have more. There will be more content.
Yeah.
There's a couple of extra little bonus episodes that we're gonna do.
Mm-hmm.
And some of that hot content, like the drunk version of last week's episode.
Yeah.
Which I don't recommend, but
No.
I was asked for it. So, but none of this is up yet, so you don't have to worry about it.
Yeah.
I will let you know when it's ready.
Yeah. But when it's ready, please give us your money.
You're right.
We like money.
Please give me $2 American at
Yes.
least. So,
but that is it for the moment.
yeah.
Until next time.
Egg.
Yeah.
Egg.
You couldn't see it, but I just signed fuck you to all of our listeners.
No.
I signed thank you. I signed thank you.
Yes. Yeah.
Bye.
Bye.